For today's video, I'm going to compare my 1948 Lionel 726 to my 1950 Lionel 736. Little caveat right up front, I believe the 726 is a 1948 from what I've seen on it, and I believe the 736 is a 1950. There's a lot of experts out there, and there's a lot of different information. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Nonetheless, these are mine. And starting with the 726, both of these locomotives appear to use the same casting. Obviously, the later one been around a little tiny bit longer. And I feel like the casting on the 726 is just a little bit sharper than on the 736. If you rub your fingers over the details on the casting, like the hoses or the lines, they just feel just slightly sharper on the 726, which is in line with what I've heard on much later castings where there have been complaints that they're just kind of mushy. Nonetheless, these are both really sharp and look pretty good. Starting at the front of each locomotive, one of the differences is with the pilot. On the 726, there's just the front, the cow catcher, if you will, and that's it. On the 736, it looks like they're trying to mimic a faux front coupler with what looks to me like a brake hose. Of course, in this case, the brake hose is gigantic. It would be, if it's to scale, it'd be a foot wide, almost, I think. It is kind of nice having the fake scale size coupler there, though. That's a nice detail that they added. Going back to the 726, the other big difference on the locomotive are with the drive wheels. I believe these are called Baldwin drive wheels, and they're two-piece with the stamp, which to me looks pretty scale, and then with the hub separately applied to that, which to me gives a really good look and adds a scale look. This was something I know Lionel did on a lot of their locomotives, I think probably prior to 1950, and I'm sure it cost more money, which is why they quit doing it. Otherwise, with the two locomotives, they are pretty similar. I don't see really any differences. Both have a separate bell and a separate horn, and the cabs appear to be pretty similar. Moving back to the tender, this to me is a huge difference between the two. This tender is made of cast metal. It's an old casting from the 30s, and it could be regarded as scale or scale-like in many respects. It's larger, obviously, and has the giant coal load. It's got a lot of details on it. It's heavy. It's got 6 wheels. It's got separately applied grab rails, and is just a much sturdier and better piece. Looking at the 736, the tender is kind of Lionel's. I don't know, I always thought it was cheap looking. because it's a Pennsylvania style tender, but if it was to scale, it would be enormous. And it just doesn't have nearly the presence. This one, however, does have 6 wheels, so it's more desirable and nonetheless looks better than many you'll find on some of Lionel's lesser locomotives. While we're looking at this locomotive, the other thing is it does have magnet traction, which makes it pull a lot better than the 726. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and run each one around the track. For this run, I've got the locomotives hooked up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 64 cars, and more or less scale like Pennsylvania caboose. So let's give it a shot. I always like to start off slowly, like modern Lionel, although slow on these is probably still 30 miles per hour. As you can see, no problem pulling this load of cars. Okay, now for the 726. A little bit better slow speed. Well, as you can see, these are both wonderful locomotives and both keepers for me. I like them both. We'll see how I incorporate it as I expand my layout.